The evening air was cool, and the street outside Daniel's house was unusually quiet. He sat in his car in the driveway, the keys still in the ignition, staring blankly ahead. His hands trembled on the steering wheel as his mind replayed the discovery he had just made. He hadn't gone looking for trouble. He hadn't been one of those paranoid husbands who checked his wife's phone every night, or followed her around in suspicion. No, Daniel had trusted Clare, trusted her with everything, his heart, his home, their children, their shared dreams. But trust, he now realized, could sometimes be the cruelest illusion. It all began so innocently a few weeks earlier. Clare, his wife of 12 years, had started working late more often. She told him that the accounting firm where she worked had brought in new clients, and deadlines were tighter than ever. Daniel believed her. He wanted to believe her. She had always been ambitious, and he respected her work ethic. But there was something different in her tone, something in her eyes when she rushed out of the house, kissing him quickly on the cheek without even making eye contact. At first, he ignored it. Marriage, after all, went through phases. But soon, tiny cracks began to appear in the once solid foundation of their life together. One Friday night, Daniel decided to surprise her by dropping by her office with dinner. He packed her favorite Thai takeout and drove downtown. But when he reached the office building, the lights on her floor were off. Her car wasn't in the lot. Confused, he dialed her number. It rang twice, and she answered breathlessly, telling him she was still buried under spreadsheets and couldn't talk. His heart sank as he stared at the empty parking space where her sedan should have been. Still, he kept quiet. He didn't confront her, not yet. Instead, Daniel started paying closer attention. He noticed the extra care she put into her appearance, the new perfume he hadn't bought her, the sudden interest in going to the gym 3 times a week. She guarded her phone like a hawk now, taking it into the bathroom, sleeping with it under her pillow. And then came the day of the journal. It was a Saturday afternoon. Clare had gone out, saying she needed to run errands before her sister's birthday dinner. Daniel was cleaning the garage when he realized he needed the car vacuumed to tidy up his own vehicle. Clare's car was parked there, and he decided to use hers instead. As he reached into the glove compartment for a cloth, something caught his eye, a leather-bound notebook tucked underneath a pile of papers. It wasn't Clare's work planner. He knew that one well. This was different. His pulse quickened as he pulled it out. The cover was plain, but inside, page after page was filled with Clare's handwriting. He almost closed it immediately, thinking it was a private diary. But then his eyes caught the words that would shatter his world. Dinner with him again tonight. He makes me feel alive in a way Daniel hasn't in years. Daniel froze. His chest tightened as he flipped to another entry. We laughed so hard in his car. He said he wishes he could take me away, far from this life. Sometimes I wish that too. His knees buckled, and he sank into the driver's seat, unable to breathe. Each word felt like a dagger, cutting through the fragile illusion of his marriage. The journal was not vague. It was painfully clear. Clare had been seeing another man. She described their secret meetings, the thrill of their late-night conversations, the stolen kisses, the intimacy that belonged to her husband but had been given away. Daniel's world collapsed in that moment. Flashbacks filled his mind, Clare's smile on their wedding day, the way she clutched his hand during the birth of their first child, the promises they had whispered under the stars. How could those moments now coexist with the words he was reading? He shut the journal, his hands shaking. He wanted to storm out, to call her, to scream and demand answers. But another voice inside him whispered, "Wait. Think. Don't act yet." That night, Clare returned home cheerful, carrying shopping bags, humming softly. Daniel studied her, every detail of her movements now tinged with suspicion. She asked him about his day, kissed him lightly, and went about setting the table as if nothing had changed. Daniel forced himself to smile, hiding the storm raging within. Over the next few days, he secretly read more of the journal. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash he couldn't stop. Each entry revealed more: meetings at a hotel bar, excuses about working late, messages exchanged during family dinners. The man's name was never mentioned, but the intimacy was undeniable. Daniel's trust had been broken, but his resolve hardened. He needed to know the full truth before he confronted her. He began quietly investigating, noting her schedules, checking her receipts, observing her habits. The betrayal weighed heavily, but he wanted proof that couldn't be denied. One evening, while Claire was in the shower, her phone lit up with a notification. Daniel glanced at it. It was a text message. The preview read, "Can't wait to see you again. Last night was amazing." His heart pounded as he memorized the number. It was confirmation. The journal wasn't just a fantasy, it was reality. By this point in the story, listeners, imagine being in Daniel's place. What would you do if you discovered a secret affair journal hidden in your spouse's car? Would you confront them immediately or gather evidence quietly like Daniel? Comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're still listening, don't forget to like this video. It really helps more people find these real-life cheating stories. Daniel couldn't sleep at night. He'd lie awake beside Claire, staring at the ceiling, hearing her soft breathing while his chest burned with rage and heartbreak. Some nights he wanted to wake her and demand an explanation. Other nights he just wanted to walk away, leave the house, and never return. But then he thought of their children, two little ones who adored their mother, who believed in the safety of their family. He couldn't destroy their world without knowing every detail. So Daniel kept pretending. He kissed her goodbye in the mornings, made small talk at dinner, and played the role of the loving husband. But inside, he was documenting everything: her late nights, her unexplained absences, her carefully rehearsed excuses. Then came the breaking point. One Thursday evening, Claire told him she had a networking dinner with colleagues. Daniel, already suspicious, decided to follow her discreetly. He waited 10 minutes after she left, then got in his car and drove. He tracked her across town, keeping a safe distance. Finally, she pulled into the parking lot of a hotel. Daniel's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. He watched as she stepped out, smoothed her dress, and disappeared inside. Moments later, a man joined her, a tall figure with dark hair. They greeted each other with an embrace far too intimate for colleagues. Daniel's heart cracked in two. The discovery of the journal had been devastating, but seeing it in person was worse. It was no longer just words on a page. It was flesh and blood betrayal. He drove home in silence, his mind numb. That night, he stared at Claire when she came home late, smiling, claiming the dinner had been exhausting. He said nothing, but the fire inside him grew. Listeners, this is where Daniel's emotional struggle deepened. He was torn between forgiveness and revenge, between holding on to the family he loved and walking away from the broken marriage drama that consumed him. This is the kind of betrayal and heartbreak that changes a person forever. And as the days went on, Daniel knew he couldn't keep silent much longer. Something had to break. Daniel waited for the right moment, though every second felt like torture. His chest ached with the weight of the lies he carried silently. During family dinners, he would watch Claire laugh with the children, her eyes sparkling with the same warmth he once believed was only his. Now, he knew those eyes hid secrets. He wondered if the kids could sense it, if they noticed how their father's smile had become forced, how his gaze lingered on their mother too long, as if searching for the truth written on her face. One night, after tucking the children into bed, Daniel found himself in the garage again, staring at the journal he had hidden away. His fingers trembled as he opened it to a random page. The words blurred at first through his tears, but then they sharpened into cruel clarity. Claire had written about a night in that very hotel he had seen her enter. She described the way the man made her feel alive, how their laughter drowned out her guilt, how the secrecy was intoxicating. Daniel slammed the journal shut, his body shaking with rage. He wanted to tear it to shreds, to burn it, to erase every trace of her betrayal. But a stronger voice inside whispered, "You need this. This is proof. This is the weapon you may one day need." The duality of his life began to eat at him. By day, he was the devoted father and husband. By night, he was the broken man unraveling in silence. Every moment with Claire became a performance. When she leaned on his shoulder while watching TV, he stiffened. When she kissed him goodnight, he tasted the lies hidden on her lips. The question that haunted him most was why. Why had she chosen to betray him? Was he not enough? Had he failed as a husband? Or was the hunger for excitement something no marriage could sustain forever? The turning point came on a stormy Friday night. Rain lashed against the windows as thunder rumbled in the distance. Claire claimed she had another late-night client dinner. But Daniel, weary of the same excuses, decided this time he wouldn't just follow her, he would confront the truth. He drove behind her carefully, his windshield wipers thumping rhythmically as if counting down to the moment his world would explode. Once again, she parked at the same hotel. Daniel's stomach twisted as he saw her run inside, shielding herself with her handbag against the rain. This time, he didn't stay outside. He parked his car, took a deep breath, and walked through the hotel's glass doors. His heart pounded as he scanned the lobby. And then he saw them. Claire sat in a corner booth of the dimly lit bar, her hand resting on the man's arm as they laughed over glasses of wine. Her face glowed in a way Daniel hadn't seen in years. The sight cut him deeper than any words in the journal. He stood frozen, every fiber of his body urging him to storm over, to shout, to expose her lies to the world. But instead, he turned quietly and walked back out into the rain. Driving home, he felt hollow. The betrayal was no longer a suspicion, no longer ink on paper. It was alive, breathing, undeniable. His wife was living two lives, and one of them was built on the ruins of their marriage. That night, Daniel barely spoke. Claire slipped into bed past midnight, whispering an excuse about the dinner running late. Daniel stared at the ceiling, silent. He knew she was lying, but what broke him most was how effortlessly she did it. Days passed, and Daniel's silence became its own weapon. He no longer asked where she was going. He no longer reached for her hand. He simply watched, observed, and let the distance grow. Claire, sensing something was off, began to act more cautious. She smiled more at him, cooked his favorite meals, even suggested a family outing. But Daniel knew it was all part of her performance, an attempt to cover her tracks. One evening, while clearing the laundry, he found another clue, a receipt from a jewelry store. The date matched one of her supposed networking nights. He checked her jewelry box later, and there it was, a delicate necklace he had never seen her wear around him. She wasn't even hiding it well anymore. The rage inside him boiled. But instead of exploding, Daniel began planning. Listeners, imagine that for a moment, discovering not just words in a journal, but receipts, jewelry, physical proof of a double life. What would you do if you were in Daniel's shoes? Would you confront her immediately, or would you quietly prepare your next move? Comment below. I want to hear how you'd handle this storm. And if you're still listening, don't forget to hit subscribe for more shocking real-life style stories. As the weeks went on, Daniel gathered every piece of evidence, copies of receipts, notes from the journal, the phone number from her messages. He even took photos when he followed her, documenting her secret meetings. It wasn't just suspicion anymore, it was a case being built brick by brick. Yet, as the evidence grew, so did the war inside him. One part of him still loved her, the woman he had built a life with, the mother of his children, the partner who had once sworn forever. But another part of him wanted revenge, wanted her to feel the same pain she had inflicted on him. One late night, Daniel sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the pile of evidence spread across the table. The journal lay open beside the receipts and photos. He whispered to himself, "What do I do with this? Do I burn it all and try to forget, or do I end it all right here?" The sound of footsteps startled him. Claire appeared in the doorway, sleepy-eyed, asking why he was still up. Daniel quickly covered the papers, forcing a smile, telling her he couldn't sleep. She yawned, kissed his cheek, and returned to bed, oblivious to the storm just a few feet away. That night, Daniel made a decision. He couldn't let this continue. He would confront her soon, but not in anger. He wanted the truth laid bare, every lie unraveled. He needed to hear it from her lips. The next day, he called his best friend, Michael, someone he had trusted since childhood. For the first time, he confessed everything: the journal, the hotel, the receipts. Michael's silence on the other end was heavy. Finally, he spoke. "Brother, you can't keep this inside. She's tearing you apart. You need to face her. Whether you forgive her or leave her, you need the truth." Daniel nodded silently, even though Michael couldn't see him. That evening, when Claire came home, Daniel's eyes followed her every move. She chatted about her day, unpacked groceries, laughed with the kids. But all Daniel could think about was the confrontation looming ahead. His heart ached with dread, but also burned with determination. The moment of truth was closer than ever. Daniel sat in silence that evening, the television flickering in the background, his children sprawled on the living room floor with their toys. Claire moved gracefully between the kitchen and dining table, humming softly, as if nothing in their lives was broken. To anyone else, it looked like a picture-perfect family. But inside Daniel's chest was a storm, and he knew the calm could not last any longer. When the children were finally tucked into bed, Daniel waited. He sat at the dining table, his hands folded, the evidence of her betrayal carefully hidden in a folder beside him. Claire walked into the room, drying her hands with a towel. She smiled faintly. "You're still up?" she asked. "Yes," Daniel said evenly. His voice was calm, too calm. He gestured to the chair across from him. "We need to talk." Her smile faded. Something in his tone told her this wasn't one of those ordinary late-night conversations. Slowly, she sat down, her eyes cautious. "What's wrong?" she asked. Daniel took a long breath. His gaze locked onto hers, steady and unflinching. "I know, Claire." Her brow furrowed. "Know what?" "I know about the late nights, the hotel, the jewelry. And I know about him." For a moment, the room was deathly silent. Then Claire's face drained of color. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. Daniel slid the leather journal across the table toward her. She froze, staring at it as though it were a venomous snake. "You left it in your car," Daniel continued. "I read it. Every word. Every detail. And then I followed you. I saw you with him." Claire's hands shook as she pressed them to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes, but Daniel didn't look away. He wanted her to see the devastation she had caused. "Daniel, she stammered. "I never meant for you to find out like this." "Like this?" His voice cracked, the calm beginning to slip. "There shouldn't have been anything to find out in the first place. We had a life, Claire. We built everything together. And you threw it away for what? Excitement? Some stranger who tells you what you want to hear?" Her tears spilled over. "It wasn't like that. I never stopped loving you." Daniel's laugh was hollow. "You don't write about another man making you feel alive if you love your husband. You don't sneak into hotels while your kids think you're at work. You don't lie every single night to the man who gave you his trust." The tension hung thick in the air. Claire reached for his hand, but Daniel pulled away. "Please," she whispered, "let me explain." "Explain?" Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Then explain it, Claire. Look me in the eyes and tell me why you did this." For the first time, she broke down completely. She buried her face in her hands, sobbing. Between gasps of breath, her words tumbled out. "I felt invisible, Daniel. The routine, the kids, the bills, it all swallowed us. I felt like we weren't us anymore. He made me feel seen. I know it's no excuse. I know I destroyed everything. But I was drowning and I didn't know how to reach you." Daniel clenched his fists. Her words cut deep, not because they justified her betrayal, but because some part of him recognized the truth. Their marriage had changed, grown heavy with responsibility. But instead of reaching for him, she had reached for someone else. "Do you realize what you've done?" he asked quietly. You didn't just hurt me. You tore apart the foundation of our family. You wrote about him, laughed with him, while lying to your children and to me. Do you know how humiliating it is to discover your wife's affair in a journal hidden in her car? Claire sobbed harder, sliding off her chair to her knees beside him. I'm begging you, Daniel. Don't end us like this. I'll cut him off. I'll do whatever it takes. Please, I'll fight for this marriage if you let me. Daniel looked down at her, his heart a battlefield. Anger clashed with love, betrayal with memories of the woman he once believed in. He had imagined this confrontation 100 times, but now that it was here, the answer wasn't simple. He stood up slowly, stepping away from her. I need time, he said firmly. You don't get to decide the ending of this story. I do. That night, he slept on the couch, staring into the darkness, wondering if forgiveness was even possible. His mind churned with visions of revenge, of walking away, of staying for the children. The battle inside him was relentless. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Claire tiptoed around him, desperate to show change, cooking his favorite meals, canceling her work dinners, even deleting numbers from her phone in front of him. But trust was gone, and every smile from her felt like a mask. One evening, Daniel confided in Michael again. She says she wants to fix things, he admitted, his voice weary. But how do you fix something so broken? How do you forgive someone who wrote love letters to another man while lying in your bed at night? Michael sighed. Only you can decide that, brother. Revenge might satisfy you for a moment, but it won't rebuild your life. Forgiveness might heal, but it will cost you everything if she betrays you again. You have to choose revenge, forgiveness, or walking away for good. Daniel sat with those words long into the night. He thought about his children, their laughter, their innocence. He thought about Claire's tears, her pleas. And he thought about the fire of betrayal that still burned in his chest. Finally, one Sunday morning, he gathered the family in the living room. The children were puzzled by his serious expression, while Claire sat trembling beside them. I need to tell you all something, Daniel began, his voice heavy. Our family isn't what it seems. Your mother and I, we've been facing some problems. And I need to make a decision for all of us. Claire's eyes widened, begging silently for mercy. Daniel paused, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. I can't pretend anymore, he continued. I can't erase what's been done. But I also can't let this destroy our children's lives. So here's what I've decided. The children leaned closer, sensing the gravity. Claire held her breath. I will stay, Daniel said at last, his voice steady but cold. But things will never be the same. Trust is gone, and it will take more than words to rebuild it. Claire, you'll have to prove every single day that this family matters more than your selfishness. And if I ever find even one shadow of betrayal again, I walk. Forever. Claire broke into sobs, clutching his hand, thanking him over and over. But Daniel's eyes were distant. He wasn't forgiving her, not yet. He was giving her one last chance, but his heart remained scarred. That night, he looked at his children sleeping peacefully and whispered to himself, This isn't forgiveness. This isn't revenge. This is survival. And so, Daniel chose a path that wasn't neat or easy. He chose to stay, not out of blind love, but out of duty, out of the hope that maybe, just maybe, the shattered pieces of trust could one day be mended. But he knew deep down, he would never forget the day he searched his wife's car and found her secret affair journal. Listeners, what do you think of Daniel's choice? Was he right to stay and fight for his family, or should he have walked away from the broken marriage drama forever? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. And if this story gripped you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more shocking real-life style stories of betrayal, heartbreak, and survival. Because sometimes, the deepest wounds in marriage aren't the ones you can see, they're the ones written in secret, hidden away until the truth finally comes crashing down.